Have you ever stayed quiet because you didn't want to bother anyone? Maybe you convinced yourself that your problems weren't important enough, or that asking for support could make you a burden? Saying "I am not okay" can be one of the hardest things to say and admit. Hi, I'm Scarlett Classic, and welcome to Classic Advice, a mental health podcast offering guidance for resilient souls, anchoring calm amidst the chaos. We can learn to keep our struggles to ourselves, that we don't want to burden someone else, or maybe we see that someone else is going through a really hard time, or they've opened up with the struggles that they're going through, and we feel really bad for them, so we don't want to add to their emotional pain or grief, so we stay silent and we don't say anything, even though maybe we are having the worst year of our life. We can learn to keep these things to ourselves. Or maybe we don't want to look or appear weak. Maybe we feel like we need to put on this face of "I've got it all together." We don't want to be attention seeking or feel like, well, I just don't want people to think I'm having this pity party and asking for attention, or, feeling like we're asking too much of people. So instead of reaching out, we just stay quiet and we lie by saying that we're fine and we're okay when people outright ask us how we are doing. The problem with this is when we do this on a repeated basis, and when we don't let other people in, it can get very self-isolating because no one really knows what's going on with you. No one really knows what a horrible day or week or month that you have had, that you're just struggling so hard. Getting up out of bed or whatever it may be is just so incredibly hard right now because you're going through just such a hard time. I do this. I have a bad habit of self-isolating when I'm going through a hard time. So there is zero judgment here. I completely understand why we do this. I don't want to burden people, and I don't want people thinking that I'm just attention seeking. I totally get it. The problem with that is I would get so incredibly lonely. And I was wondering, why am I so lonely? No wonder I'm lonely, because I don't actually let people in. So a few weeks ago, I was talking with some friends, and I let them in, and I told them what was going on. I said, "Look, this is what I'm going through right now." And they sat and they listened, and a lot of them said, "I don't know what to say." And I said, "You don't need to say anything. There's nothing really to be said. There isn't even really much that can be done, even, at least not on their end." But it was so incredibly nice to have their support and say, "We're here for you. Whatever you need, we're here for you, and we love you, and we're so sorry that you're going through this." So nothing really changed in my circumstances. The circumstances of, the crazy going on in my life didn't change. The only thing that changed was I had the courage, because it took a lot of courage. I was scared to open up like that. But I did, because I told myself, you know what? I am tired of this cycle. I am so tired of this cycle of self-isolating when I know better. I know better. I should, you don't have to tell the world. You don't have to broadcast it to the world. Choose wisely who you tell, who you open up to, someone that you can trust that isn't going to turn around and blab it to everybody. Some things are personal and should stay personal, but choose someone that you trust and let them in. Because doing that, I felt like a huge weight was lifted off of me when I just opened up and said, look, this is what's going on. Because that isolation felt so incredibly heavy. And I didn't even really realize it until I decided to open up and say, look, this is what's going on. When we bottle things up like that and keep our pain and inside, and we might have our cry sessions, but when we keep it to ourselves, it's got nowhere to go, and except around and around and around on a hamster wheel in our head. And it might feel manageable to you, or you might be thinking, well, there's nothing, that can be done. So why should I bother telling anybody? It's not like they could actually do anything about it. But that's not really the point. Opening up your heart to people that you trust and people that really do care about you and really do love you. They want to know you, but in order to be known, you have to share. Because none of us are mind readers that I know of. At least I am not, and no one I know is. I think my husband likes to think that I should be. But yeah, haven't got there yet. We need to open up and tell people what's going on. Otherwise, they have no way of knowing. And I've said this a lot to my kids too, right? If you don't tell me what is going on with you, I have no way of knowing. I'm not with you 24/7. My two older boys, they live with their dad. So it's not like I'm, we're in contact and stuff, but it's not like you gotta tell me what's going on. They go to school, I'm not around. Even my youngest, he goes to school, so we ask, hey, how was your day? Anything go on? You good? How was, reading? How was this? How was that? And he'll tell us. But if we don't tell what's going on, that no one will know. And that sounds very, very obvious, but still, a lot of us, I think, don't share because we don't want to be a burden, or we don't want to have a pity party, or think that people or have people think that we're attention seeking. So we just don't say. And I just want to share the relief that I felt, that weight that I felt lifted off when I just finally opened up to people and were like, look, I'm going through a hard time right now. Because I like being the one that's making the jokes. I like being the one, that is light and brings hope and encouragement and all that. So when I, negative Nancy over here about all the things that are going wrong, it doesn't make me feel good, so I don't want to talk about it. And I don't want, negative Nancy to get all the other, joyful Julie all down. But, life has ups and downs, and that's connection. When we can really just share with people and be vulnerable with people. And I think the other thing too is I've been hurt a lot in the past. I've shared with people in the past and been vulnerable, and then they have turned around and used that vulnerability against me. That is a very, very, very hurtful thing to do and have done to you. And when it happens, you never want to open up to people again. It was so scary for me to open up because I have been hurt so many times by people in the past. So of course I'm not going to want to open that door again, because the last time I did, I just got hurt. So we keep the door closed. But it gets so lonely in that room all by yourself with the heavy stuff. We open the door on all the happy, joyful things, but when it comes to the heavy stuff, we keep that door closed, and it's lonely. And I was tired of feeling alone. I guess I reached that point where I decided, well, I either decide to trust people again and give these people that I've gotten to know over the last few years, they seem like really, really great people. And you know what? They are. And I know a lot of you actually listen to the show. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you for just being you and just listening. Sometimes that's all we need is just someone to listen. And listen to not, solve. We don't need to share. It's not always about sharing what you're going through so that people fix what's going on, right? Me and my husband have this conversation, when I'm having a bad day, I'll tell him, okay, I need a vent, but I don't want you to fix nothing. I don't need a solution. You just need to sit there and nod. Just listen. Not solve anything. Just remind us that we're not alone in this and in life. And then you don't feel alone. I don't feel alone anymore. My friends know what's going on. I don't feel alone. I feel a lot better. The situation didn't change at all, but I feel so much better. And I'm proud of myself for opening up and trusting again. Because not everyone is going to turn around and stab you in the back. There are some really great, amazing people out there. Do you keep your struggles to yourself? Are you afraid of being a burden to other people? Or you might even be afraid of being stabbed in the back again because you share something that's really vulnerable. That is completely understandable. To be scared. Who in your life has earned your trust to hear what's really going on? And how would you respond yourself if a close friend came to you with the kind of things that you feel like you need to share? Because when you think of it that way, well, if, say, Bob came to you and shared exactly what's going on with you, would you feel like Bob is attention seeking? Would you feel like Bob is, being a burden? Because those thoughts, like our thoughts, lie to us sometimes. And when we frame it and flip the script, it can give a lot of clarity and be like, oh no, that's not true. I'm not being a burden by, being honest and telling, a trusted friend what's going on. This week, if you have been carrying something alone and to yourself, I would really encourage you to open up to that one trusted friend. You don't have to tell everyone and broadcast it, but just don't feel like you need to carry this alone. Your needs are not a burden to people who truly care about you. And I care about each and every one of you. So I hope you feel that love through the microphone, through the headset or speakers. Sometimes the bravest thing that we can do is let someone walk beside you. They might not be able to carry the load for you, but they can walk beside you, like Sam walked all the way to Mordor with Frodo. That's a Lord of the Rings reference, so if you don't get it, it's okay. But they go on this very long journey, and Frodo was carrying this ring that he had to take a very, very long way. And Sam couldn't carry it for him because it was Frodo's burden to bear. But Sam could walk with him. And at the very end of the journey, the burden gets so heavy that Frodo feel like he can't go on. And Sam picks him up and carries him. You need a Sam in your life. I need a Sam in my life. Someone to just walk with you. I will happily be your Sam if you feel like you don't have anyone in your world. Sometimes it's easier to open up to someone over an email or whatever. So I'm more than happy to. I'd be overjoyed. I love all of my listeners, even if I haven't, met you. There's lots of different ways to get a hold of me, whether you go to my website, which the link is in the show notes, classicchronicles.ca, or shoot me an email, ClassicAdvicePodcast@gmail.com. I am always available. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Advice, guidance for resilient souls. May you stay anchored in what steadies you, rise resilient through what challenges you, and carry calm into whatever comes next. Take care. Love ya.